Hello and welcome to another video in which we're going to discuss another USACO problem from the training websites, which is train.usaco.org. And this is problem 2, called Greedy Gift Givers, in which there's a series of friends who want to donate money to each other, and in other words, give a gift. However, they need our help to compute how much money each person has after the entire gift exchange and extravaganza is over. Let's dive right in by taking a look at the input first. So obviously in the scenario there's going to be some friends, and the amount of friends that you have, or the amount of people we have, is denoted by the first number here. And we can call this number n. And the next n lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tell the names of these 5 friends. Here it is Dave, Laura, Owen, Vic, and Emer. Here, next we describe how much each person gives in the money dollar amounts, as well as the number of people in which we split it among. Such as here, Dave splits the $200 between Laura, Owen, and Vic. Next, there is Owen, who splits $500 among one person, so he basically just gives it to Dave. And so on for each of the n people here. What each person is called one time, and it describes how much each person gets. So let's take a look at the let's write a plan to solve this code through pseudocode. So first things first, we have to read in the inputs. This may actually be a little bit of a challenge, as the input reading is not as straightforward here as it was in the previous problem, or in general, and this is a very complicated input. So first thing we want to do is devise a plan to do that, and let's take a look at how we can do this. So first we have a number n, so for each name until we reach n, which implies that we're gonna go until we hit the number n. We want to read in each name, and probably for what we mean by read in each name, we're gonna do it into some data structure, because a single rudimentary string won't be able to handle it. I would probably use an array, because it's the simplest and most efficient data type which we can use in this scenario. Next, we want to handle the entire, name calling. We coders call it queries, in which they call a name and then they specify how much they donate to. So we want to handle that part. And I will handle each query, which is just another word for search, and we have to search for each name there and basically distribute the amount of money that they give. So we handle each query and distribute the money evenly. We can do this in one step, as there's no importance of the people and the input after we just distribute the money. So we can do it while we're reading the input, in other words. And finally, we want to print out the answer. Print out the answer, which is going to be the names and balances of each friend. The first and third part seem pretty straightforward. Just a loop for each name you want to iterate over and read or write the balances. But the second part looks a little bit complicated, so I'm going to go ahead and discuss this in more detail. And first thing we want to do is let's keep some temporary, let's define the current friend, or I'll just say current process, which means that we're currently processing a friend. For example, in here we would be currently processing Dave, and from there we want to also see how much money, and split it, how much they split it amongst. So first thing we want to do is split up how much money he gets, and then we can distribute that money for amongst the 3 people. For example, split amongst the 3, we divide the money by 3 and add it to those 3 people. And for that, we're gonna have to divide the money by split it amongst to get the amount they get. But there's one problem here. The fact that some people can donate 0. And for example, here in this example, we get Vic, who donates 0 to nobody. So we have to check if the current processed person that isn't donating, if they donate 0, you should skip them. And if they donate, but even if they don't donate, or if they don't donate, but if they split, or if they give to 0 people, donates to 0 people, we can just skip them. We're using current process here. And then we want to divide the money. And this dividing money seems a little bit daunting at first, but it really simplifies down to an easy algorithm, which I will describe here. So first things first, I want to make this easier on ourselves, and I'll just define a function. I'll just say define a function, and let's just call it process deposit, where it takes in the string of who is the donor, who is the recipient, and finally the amount. And we know that it's integer, so I'm going to use integer here, money. Note that this money we have, we're gonna use this money after it's splitted, so that we can just donate to each individual person. And then we have to search for for the donor and the recipient and update their values, and by subtracting out from the donor and adding to the recipient. This may seem a little bit complicated at first, but bear with me. It's going to really simplify it down to something very easy that one person can understand. So here we've already defined process deposit here, and so now we can handle a deposit. We can process the deposits, and voila! That is the basic algorithm that you need to solve this problem. So I'm going to reiterate all of the points that we have discussed for this problem. So first we have to read in the input, and that may be a little bit tricky, but we can use arrays to our advantage and store each name. And finally, we handle each query, and we distribute the money evenly. And in order to do this, we would want to define 3 variables, which we would say the amount, the current process, which we read in from the input, along with the money and how many people he donates to, which is referred to by split it amongst. But if either the amount of money or the number of people he splits amongst is 0, there's no need to process this person, as it's not necessary. He either donates 0 or he gives to 0, so it doesn't really matter. And finally, if he isn't, then we have to divide the money and actually process the deposit, which we can use by a function called process deposit, in which we pass in the donor, recipient, and the money. And we add and subtract the donor while searching for them. Finally, we can print out the answer, which is the output to print out the total balance that they give here, and print out the name and balances of each friend as shown. For example, Dave and then 302, Laura and then 366, and Owen and then negative 359. And that is the basic algorithm of this problem. And as you can see, we use pseudocode to solve this problem. And I cannot say how important pseudocode is, as even if I repeat it, it really is that important. That pseudocode really makes it easy for you to understand and solve a problem. And once you write down the pseudocode, all it is a matter of translating that to code. If you have trouble with understanding my pseudocode, and if you just want to look at the code, I have attached the code down below. And please like, comment, and subscribe. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you very much for listening.